Hello, welcome back. I'm Jeff Byers, and this is part 3 of our sci-fi crate. We're going to go ahead and continue working on our sci-fi crate, and we're going to go ahead and create a handle for the side of the box, and we'll add some more detail to the box as we go along. And we're going to basically just getting the basic shape down first, and then we'll work on adding detail to it in Mudbox, which will be a lot of fun. I'm going to let you guys go crazy with the detail on Mudbox and just have fun with it. Make sure it is appropriate. Obviously, you don't want to get too crazy, but have fun with it and enjoy it. And we want this to look like a sci-fi box, science fiction box. So I'm going to place this in our completed system. Hopefully we can get this in Unreal Engine. If not, we can use Marmoset or something like that. Or we're going to go ahead and render a little bit in Arnold. So let's go ahead and get the handles on there. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and start with a cylinder. And we're going to go ahead and rotate that. And there's a little tool here that I think would be really good that we could use for rotation values. You can go in here and type in the channel box the rotation X to be -90, and that'll pop it in there. But the best way to do it is to just double click on the tool, okay, which is the rotate tool. And we're going to go down to common selection. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Step snap. Step snap. We want that relative, and we want to do that. Let's do 45 degrees. If you need something smaller than that, you can do it at 15, but 45 seems to work really well. And that way you can just kind of snap it into place. You can see it snapping, which is kind of nice. Okay, awesome. So that's kind of a nice little tool. Again, if you don't want that on, you guys can turn that off anytime you want and just kind of freely do it yourself, or just type it in, whatever you'd like to do. But I'm going to go ahead and keep that on to relative 45 degrees. Now you do want to have that zeroed out first, so we'll go ahead and turn that off and get that zeroed out before we type in, or before we turn that on. There we go. So that will make it a little bit easier. Okay, so now it'll snap. Alright. Turn that off, and we'll go ahead and scale this down. And we want a pretty beefy handle for this. Put our hands around that. And we want it to hang down below the lid to something like that. Okay. Alright, so there's two ways of doing the handle, because it's kind of a bend, it's kind of a bent area there. Is we could use a curve and extrude along that curve if we wanted to. Or we could take another cylinder and subdivide it and just manipulate it until we get what we want. It's really up to you as the user what the best route is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through adding a curve, creating a curve, and that way I can teach you a new tool. The other way is really, it takes a long time. Let me go ahead and show you really quick what that could look like. And let's go ahead and, there we go. And let's give that more subdivisions along the height. And let's do something like 15. Okay, and let's rotate that. Alright, and let's make that a little bit smaller or a little bit thinner. It's going to be the piece of wire here. And the idea is to go to the side view. I'm going to hit the F key. that frames your object. So hit the F key. So whenever you give you a couple more keys here. So we know Control D is duplicate. We know Control E is extrude. F is frame. So if you select an object, it will frame it. Hit the F key. It's kind of nice. And if you select A, it frames the whole entire scene. Okay, so let me show you something. Let's go in here and move that ball way over here. Okay. And if I click on that and I hit the A key, it frames everything. It looks for the farthest object, and so if you do have an object way far away and you don't know where it is, you could hit the A key, and that frames the entire scene. Okay, so let me get rid of that, and let's click on that again. Let's hit the A key, and it will frame that area there. It's really pretty cool. We know Control Z is undo, and we know Shift Z is redo. We know that Q is select. Okay, W is move, E is rotate, and R is scale. T basically is the last tool that you used. Okay, and Y is a manipulator tool. Alright, so let's go ahead and delete my type history on that. That gets rid of that little guy. Okay, let's get back to bending this. Okay, so the first way would be to move that up and go in here and just start bending the vertices and moving them around. So I would probably go in here and do the bend right here. And so I would rotate it a little bit. Now when I do, it's going to rotate at 45 degrees, so I'm going to have to go back in here, and this is the issue with having it on all the time. So I just turn it off and we can rotate it and then move it. Okay, let's go back to vertices, and you can see this can be, it can take a while, and we'll move that. Let's see, we're going to get that bend in there and rotate it. It's not like hard work or anything, it's just tedious work. Okay, alright, so you get the idea. Rotate it, move it, and eventually get that bend that you're looking for. Again, so tedious work. So we finally get that bend in there, and that's fine, and that'll work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Is it the smartest way to work? Now, because I got to do the other side. So some of you guys would say, well, why don't you cut it in half and duplicate it over? Yes, you can. You can do that. Okay. So what do I think is smarter? I don't know if it's any faster, but it's a little more efficient, is to go in here and do a curve. So create curve tools, EP curve tool, go into here, the option box, always go into the option box, and click on 3 cubic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now I can go from where I want that curve to be. So I'm going to start from the top and just kind of work my way down and get a nice little curve here, like this. And get about right in the middle there, and just try to stay steady with this and keep it about the same as what the other side is. Okay, there we go. And hit enter. Alright, so there's my curve. And let's go ahead and center that. There we go. So there's my curve. I can even place the curve where I want it. So I'm going to go in here, and it's not renderable, so I'm going to go in here and just kind of tweak it out really quick. There's not much I have to do. I just want to keep it as straight as possible so it looks fairly good. Keep these. There's some knotting, so you can see that little knot there. That's a knot like that. If you see something like that, you'll have to select the vertex and just kind of move it around until you get where you want it. So I can control this pretty easily by putting these close together. I can get a really nice looking curve. Okay, pretty short amount of time. There we go. And again, we got to look for stuff that's broken or knotted. We want to kind of create something that is pretty stable. Okay. Alright, so this is cool. So that works. Alright, so we need to move that curve obviously over. So select it, move it over, and we'll put it right where it needs to be for this. I decided to make that just a little bit smaller. It's a little too beefy. Okay, something like that will work. Alright, so now the next thing we need to do is we need to have, so that's the profile curve, okay? And so what we need to do now is we need to create an object, and it needs to be a flat polygon. So again, what we'll do is we'll create a cylinder, and we'll take the bottom off. So I'm going to right click over it, go to face mode. I'm going to select everything and delete it. I'm going to select the top as a selection. I'm going to go ahead and center pivot, and I'm going to bring it over top here to get the kind of scale that I want from the object. So this is going to be extruded along that curve. That's the idea. Okay. So I'm going to move that down. And I'm going to go to the top view, see if I can see this from the top view. Sometimes this becomes a problem. So sometimes when I'm doing this, I might want to take this, what I've got built so far, and put it into a layer, which makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in a layer. Okay. And so I can see this a little bit better. Alright, so go to the top view, and you can see where my curve is. And so I'm going to place that over top of the curve. I'm going to hit the 4 key and just get as close as I can to that center of that curve, like this. There you go. And go to the perspective view, and that looks pretty good. Now the next thing I need to look at is where's the beginning of this curve. Okay, I believe it's on this side. How do I know that? What if I forgot or I come back to it? It's the open end, the open cube here lets me know that's where I started the curve. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now, and this is the tricky part, is I'm going to go to selection mode. Make sure you're in selection mode. Okay. So you got to have that on, and you got to have this on. And select. So you're going to click on this guy, okay, and you're going to right click over it, hit the Q key, right click over and go to face mode and select all the faces. That's important. You select all the faces and then shift select this object here, the profile curve, okay. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go Control E, okay. Now this is normal. Let me move that out of the way. It shoots from that end to that end. That's because we don't have enough divisions. It's got one division. So let's type in something like 20. Oh, look at that. So now we've got something that looks pretty decent. And then let's continue. Let's go with something like 40. There we go. And that gives us a nice curve. Now that's really high poly. Obviously it's not a good thing, but the thing is it did pretty good. I like that. Looks good. So I'm going to go to selection mode. Alright. Now the only thing is it's black. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to select the object. Okay. So I'm going to click on it, go to selection and hit the Q key. Go back in here. You can see up here at the top here that we need to click on object mode. So I'm going to go in here, mesh display. I'm holding down the space bar and go to reverse. Okay. And that reverses the normals. There we go. So that's how you basically create a handle using a profile curve. Now you know how to do it. I showed you how to do it vertex by vertex, but that takes a long time. I'm not saying this is going to be any faster, but it sure is more fun, okay, than moving vertices around. Now what I would do to clean this up though would be to go in here, because it's a high poly, is to go in here, and there's some things in here that we don't need to actually have. So anytime you have a long span, I'm going to hold the shift key down and select more than just one, you can get rid of these edges, and that will lower your polygon count. So that's a little trick you can do, and I'm not too worried about poly. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Control D, or Control Delete, and that will delete those extra edges that I don't need. Okay, alright, that looks good. So, alright, next video